We are going to start today with where are we today? And we are sitting in the auditor's office, and I am here with Jason Frost.
Yes.
Jason, I'm going to let him introduce himself and what he does here in Stark County.
I'm Jason Frost. I'm the Chief Deputy of Real Estate for the Stark County Auditor, Angela Kinsey. Basically, I oversee all the real property tax operations for the auditor's office, including most notably the valuation of property in Stark County.
That's a buzzword right
yes,
now.
Yes, it's a buzzword.
So as I believe most people know, I'm in real estate and I'm with Keller Williams, the Mucci team. And we're here to kind of go over a lot of questions we get and then also talk about assessments and appeals and all those buzzwords going around right now.
Right.
So we've kind of compiled a few questions on a lot of the real estate side of what we get.
Right.
So one of my favorite ones, maybe you can help me with this, is how you guys determine the square footage. So we get a lot of people that say, well, if the bedroom's in the basement, it can't be counted on my taxes, right?
Yeah.
So we in real estate, I think we've got it to where in the MLS, it's very helpful. It shows above grade square footage, below grade square footage,
right,
and then total.
Right.
So that kind of helps people because there was this whole thing of, well, you can't tax me on my lower level, but yet they want to count it in their square footage when they sell it.
Right.
So can you unpack that for me?
That's a great question. For us, we treat it much like you do.
Okay.
We consider above grade living area differently than we would do below grade.
Okay.
So we do pick up finished basement spaces, but we pick them up at a much lower level because typically the market that we've seen reflects that living space is not as valuable as, say, first, second story living space.
Sure.
So we will pick it up. It will be reflected in our records, but it's not something that values the same. So if you have first floor living space, it's not going to value the same as basement. It just doesn't, but we do pick that up.
And so then the next question goes to, well, it's a walkout.
Yes.
Still considered below grade.
Still considered below grade, treat it the same way. We do note that it's a walkout.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then the next big question is a pool.
Yes.
Does it help my value? Does it not help my value?
In-ground pools, yes, they do. We've studied that the last few years, especially since COVID. They've really started to add value to real estate transactions. So we do pick that up. It does add value, although I will tell you, as a fact, it doesn't add near the value that it costs you to put it in the ground.
I always tell people when they want a pool, buy a house with one.
Right,
because there's
exactly.
way more built-in value
Exactly.
than, yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
So another big question that we get is corner lots.
Okay.
Are taxes higher on corner lots because they have more frontage?
Typically when we have something called an excess frontage adjustment on corner lots.
Okay.
We recognize that, you know, if you're valuing it based on the frontage, they've got a little bit more. We'll adjust it down to try to keep it in line with non-corner lot properties.
Okay. That's interesting because growing up, I always heard that. And then
Well,
when I got into real estate, it was, oh no, I don't want a corner lot. My taxes are going to be higher.
Right. We'll try to do is figure out what is the market paying for a lot in that area. And then typically there's a standard price that gets applied to all of them.
Got it.
So
then talking about purchases, and I know we talked about this, and I actually learned something today. So this was super helpful.
Yeah.
I'm out selling a house.
Okay.
The auditor has it assessed, let's say at 500, and it sells for 400.
Right.
Not because the real estate agent, because the market only bared 400.
Right.
Immediately when that closes, does that owner now have to wait for a reassessment the following year? How should they take care of that if there's such a deviation between assessed value and what they purchased?
Yeah, if they see a difference between the assessed value that we have, the market value we have on our site, and what they paid for something, we tell them don't wait, give us a call right away. We can handle a lot of things what we call informally.
Okay.
So we can review the sale, we can review the record with you, we can make sure everything looks right, and if we need to adjust our record to keep it more in line with the market, we can. We encourage new owners to check the record that we have to make sure that it's in line with what they bought.
Yes.
So if we have 3.5 bathrooms, does your property actually have 3.5 bathrooms? If it has 4 bedrooms, do we have 4 bedrooms? Is it a 2-story? Is it brick? Things of that nature. Make sure our record's right, because once that sale happens, that will trigger us to go and review that property, all those property characteristics to make sure we have collected on that sale what actually sold. That's important to us.
So do you do that immediately upon the sale, or is that done?
We
the
try to do it
assessed
within
year?
a month.
Okay.
30 days is our goal. So if a property would sell today, we would want to be out within 30 days. We'd want to be at the property reviewing, making sure our records are correct.
Okay.
We try to stay current.
So then another question is going out and assessing the properties.
Mm-hmm.
When you do go out, I know there's a question of, do you come in the homes anymore? Do you just walk around the property?
Right.
So what does that look like when you say you go out and revisit the property?
Our normal process is when we visit a property, we will try to go to the front door, the main building that we see. Mm-hmm. We'll knock on the door, announce our presence. All of our staff have ID. All of them come with a laptop. They've got IT. We will basically try to interview the occupant of the property, just have a 30-second quick questionnaire on the interior. We do not go inside the property, nor do we ever ask to go inside the property.
Okay.
So if somebody's they're impersonating us if they're saying they're from the
saying they're
Auditors,
going in.
we don't go in.
Okay.
We don't go in. We just
Good to
ask a
know.
few questions at the door, and then we typically will do just a quick review on the outside to make sure that we have everything picked up
Got it.
correctly.
Got it. And then outbuildings,
Yes.
value given to those clearly. And
Yes.
touching on a conversation we had. So
Yeah.
there are certain areas when you erect an outbuilding,
Yes.
you don't pay
A permit fee.
the permit fee.
Yes.
But there is an adjustment to your taxes,
Yes. Yes.
no matter where you live.
No matter
If
where you live.
construct an outbuilding,
Yes.
it's going to get assessed
Right.
and applied.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you put a garage up, you build a garage on there, we're going to pick it up, we're going to value it, it's going to apply to your taxes. There are some districts, some townships that if it's an agricultural building, they don't charge you a permit fee, but we do pick it up for tax
Taxes.
purposes.
Got it.
Yeah.
So talking about what you guys are just coming through and starting
Yeah.
all of the formal appeals.
Yes.
So when taxes come out, and this was also something that was very interesting and a really great piece of information, and I'm going to let all of my clients know that when your assessed values come out, if you do see things that are incorrect on your assessment, you can do what Jason has already stated, an informal appeal.
Right.
Which is much easier than the formal.
Yes.
So can you kind of
Walk you
break
through.
down that?
Yeah, basically, tax bill time is usually January. Every year we send out tax bills. And the window to do a formal appeal is January to March. Normally when the tax bills have already been issued, largely the time for us to make adjustments to the record is very limited because that money has already been set aside. The values have already been set and approved by the state. There's little we can do. But as soon as the formal appeal ends at the end of March and April starts, we can start looking at properties informally for the following tax year. So that is something that we would prefer to do with property owners because we have a lot of leeway. It's a lot more informal, like we say, and we can get things done pretty quickly. If we have an error on the record, we can fix it very quickly. We can, if you purchased it recently, we can adjust to the sale price very quickly. We have a lot more that we can consider, and it's wide open. We prefer people call us in the months between April and around September for the next year's taxes. Because right now, if you go to our website, you will see the 2025 value out there.
Right.
And if you have errors on the record or discrepancies that you see, and you look at your value and you're just like, I don't know that I could get that much money for my property, you need to call us. We can handle that informally. We have appraisers that can talk to you. We'll open up an informal appeal that you can do online.
Okay.
So you can just type in, attach your evidence, and we can review it that way.
And you don't need an attorney or
No, not at
this
all.
is just something you do.
Just the property owner,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Or you don't even have to be the property owner. If you have, say, elderly parents that you're trying to review their
Yeah.
records and you're taking care of them, and you see something that's a discrepancy on your parents' record, call us. We can help you with that,
Got
for
it.
sure.
There was something you said, assessments, it made me think of something, and now I lost it. This is why I should write things
No, that's
down
okay.
all the
That's
time.
okay.
It'll come to me. Talk to me then about homestead.
Yes.
Reduction in taxes,
Yes.
How do you get it?
How do you get it? Yes.
And if a home has it,
Yes.
when it transfers, it's not necessarily going to have it again.
Right, right. So homestead is, it's you have to have your principal residence be in Stark County as of January 1st of the year you're receiving it. So you have to be, this has to be your primary residence. So if you have multiple homes, but your primary residence is Florida, you can't get homestead in Ohio. So it's only, they only give it to people who this is their primary residence, state of residence. The second thing is you have to be 65 or older, and then you have to meet income requirements.
Okay.
So in the state of Ohio, they adjust the income to inflation every year. They started doing that about 5 or 6 years ago. And this year it's around $40,000 of Ohio adjusted gross income. So when you file your Ohio taxes, it's there on the first page, the Ohio adjusted gross income. If it's below $40,000, you may qualify for homestead as your principal residence and you're 65 and over. That's the main qualifications. There are qualifications for disability, for veterans disability. And if you think you might qualify under one of those programs, we strongly encourage you to call our office, because our staff is ready to assist and kind of walk you through all the check boxes that you have to go through to say, do I qualify for that? But most people qualify under the age and income. And then their reduction, it basically leads to a reduction between $400 and $500 a year in taxes. Is what it means. So, but it follows the owner. So if the owner then sells the property, the next January that homestead will be removed unless the new owner would qualify, but that would be a separate.
And I know in our world that's a big difference, because if an agent doesn't look to see that it is under homestead, that can be a qualifying issue for a buyer, because their taxes are going to readjust up. So it's interesting. So my question was on the assessment. So you said the 2025 assessments are out.
Yes.
And I see those when we pull up the values.
Yes.
So that is what next year's tax bills are going to be based on.
Yes.
So the $1 million question we always get in our world is, why do we pay a year behind?
A year behind.
Yes.
Well, it takes time to do what we do. So normally, January 1st is what we call in the tax world a lien date. It's the date of valuation. We're valuing everybody as if the property existed with those facts as of January 1st. So most people, I think one of the primary misconceptions I see is people think we're out there valuing properties every day at a different date. No, we're valuing everything as of January 1st. So for like new construction, we have to pick everything up that was there as of January 1st. That usually takes us many months to do. That takes us normally into the late spring, and actually we are just now finishing that up for 2025.
Okay.
So we should probably have all the new houses on our records, I would say by mid-June.
Okay.
So people can see them. Then we have to get all the changes that would be made for appeals and things like that. They have to all be adjusted. It takes a good while to do that. Plus we're not the only ones. It's like we're not the final arbiter of values. We have to submit all the values that we've put on the records to the state, and then they examine them, and then they approve or don't approve them, but normally they approve them. And then from there, the state uses them in calculation for property tax levies and adjustments per state law. So there's all these things that have to happen. Typically, that's why it's a year in arrears.
Got it.
And the other thing about property taxes that I like to tell folks, because a lot of people get their first half and their second half bill. And they think, oh, this is for the first 6 months of the year and the second 6 months. Makes sense to me. Totally makes sense. It's actually just one annual tax bill that's divided into two halves for purposes of payment only. It's one bill. It has nothing to do with the first 6 months, second 6 months.
Got it.
It's one bill, first half, second half. Is not half year, it's just half the amount.
Got it.
That's all it is.
Makes sense. So if somebody gets the tax bill, they can pay the whole year if they want.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting.
So it's assessed one time, calculated one time, and they
To
just
help
split it
them
in
out.
half.
Yes.
Just for purposes of payment.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I always thought, I guilty of saying you get two tax bills. Semi-annual taxes
It's all based on the same thing.
One tax bill.
Yeah, just divide it in half for payment. That's all it is.
And it is interesting because we do run into that, not often, but sometimes people, the title companies on our side, when they're calculating taxes, verify with you guys whether they're paid, because there are some folks that have paid the whole year.
Absolutely.
And so they are paid up.
Oh,
so,
yeah, absolutely. There's different reasons for that. Yeah.
Doesn't happen often,
No,
but we do see it.
But it happens. It's true.
So you said new construction, and in the new construction world, I understand that when you assess it at the beginning of the year, it's whatever is completed at that time.
As January 1st, yes.
Okay.
Whatever's there.
So then I'm selling a piece of property, and I have a buyer saying, well, what do you think my taxes are going to be?
Okay.
You guys have on your site the tax estimator.
We do.
And how is that the best resource
Yes.
we tell them to go to?
Absolutely. It's why we put it on there. There's really three main reasons we have the tax estimator. The first one is you want to know on my property, if it's this market value, what's the taxes, what are the taxes going to be based on that? And we update it several times a year with new levies that are proposed, levies that have passed and will be effective in the future. We'll update those as well. But we want to try to give you as current a view as possible of this is what your taxes are going to be if your value was changed in some way.
Yeah.
A lot of people use it for new construction. They're thinking about building a house, and we tell them, well, how expensive a house are you going to build? Use that as your barometer. So if you're going to build a house, you think it's going to be worth $500,000, put $500,000 in, and that will at least set your upper limit for your budget. So you'll know, okay, worst case scenario, it's going to be at $500,000. It's likely not going to be quite that, but at least it gives you an idea for budgeting. The second thing it'll do is it'll show you, are there any new levies that are coming on that are going to add to my taxes next year? Because that will show you as well. So it might be that your value is not going to change at all, but a levy passed.
Right.
And now your taxes are going to change, not because your values changed, but because the levy has passed, and it'll give you the detail on the levy, and it'll approximate to you, your particular property, what will you pay on that levy? Because people want to know. So I tell people, when the schools put out advertisement says, hey, we want to put on a new levy, or we want a renewal or something, you can go to our website. You can check out how that impacts you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because a lot of times they'll say generically it impacts the owner of a $100,000 house by X amount.
Yeah.
Well, people then are like, well, then how many? Okay, well, you
forgot
don't
to
have to
carry
do
their
all
one.
that. You don't have to do all that. You can go to our website.
Right.
You can put in your parcel number. We'll find your value, and then you can see that's how much it's going to add. It's an estimate.
Yeah.
It makes some assumptions. I will say that. It's not a dollar for dollar or to the penny. So, but it'll give you a really good idea.
Yeah.
And then the last thing would be if you want to compare different districts. So some people are like we talked about before, some people are maybe not from the area and they're looking to come in and they're saying, well, I don't know if I want to build a house in Lake or Jackson. And maybe one of their considerations is, what is my burden going to be if I build it in Lake versus Jackson? Because it might be different, and that might matter. So you can run based on the tax district different value scenarios and see what the taxes would be if you had $500,000 in Jackson versus $500,000 in Canton City versus Lake.
That's
so
awesome.
All those things can be done through our tax estimator. It's a great tool. We direct people there all the time. I probably send 2 or 3 a month out where people call me or email me and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think my estimate's going to be? I use it all the time.
Yeah.
So.
That's very interesting, because through 28 years of real estate, we've always done they say it's going to affect so much. I didn't even think to go to the tax estimator.
Go to the tax estimator. It's
That's
a great
idea.
source.
So any other hidden gems on your guys' site that are good user-friendly tools for your typical homeowner or real estate agent?
Hidden gems? We try not to hide too much on our site. I hear what you're saying.
That are the softballs across the plate that we aren't noticing.
Yeah. Basically, you have a lot of the information on our site is there about the property itself, about the value history. Our phone and contact information's on there if you have any questions. But we really try to be very transparent with all the information that we collect. If you have a hearing, for instance, this is one thing a lot of people don't know. If you file an appeal with us, there's a hearing tracking on the parcel online on the website that'll tell you the status of that hearing. You don't have to call us. You can see, oh, okay, it's scheduled. Oh, it's in the appraiser's hands. They're working on it. So you can see it's out there for public knowledge to know this is how we're handling it. So
Awesome.
that's one of the things I think people probably don't realize, but it's out there. So if you have filed, great. But we have all the information that we use to value your property is online.
Okay.
And I think it's as transparent a tax as there is.
Right.
In terms of, I don't think the state's going to put all your income tax stuff online, and I don't think they're going to put necessarily all the sales tax you pay all year long online. Yes, you probably would be surprised at how much that is because you pay it in small increments.
Right.
But with property tax, it's a big bill, we know.
Yep.
But we definitely try to put as much out there. And if there's anything you or your clients want to see, we're happy to try to put that out there as well.
Okay.
But we try to be
It's transparent.
As much information as possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So another question regarding real estate.
Yeah.
On our side, we often see people, and you probably see it when the assessments come out. Some say, well, gosh, this is so much lower than my property value is. Some say this seems so much higher. Is the goal of the auditor's office to be at market value?
Yes.
It is the goal. Okay.
The goal is to be within 10%.
Okay.
So plus or minus 10% is our goal on average.
Okay.
So it's a statistical process we run. So we might look at, we look at, for instance, in a 3-year period, we might look at 15,000 to 20,000 sales.
Okay.
And we're running statistical analysis at the neighborhood level on all those. And we're trying to come within, 10% of the value. Normally, we hit anywhere between 90 and 94% on average. That's typical. We don't really target to be over assessing people. We target to be right underneath what they could sell the property for. But market value is always our goal. Yeah. And we use recent sales to do that.
Yep.
So we use the market to do that. We don't say we think this should be the market value. We use the sales as our target.
So in the world of 2008-ish, so many distressed sales, we would get all the time, oh my gosh, is that going to affect my market value? So if you're doing neighborhood assessments, and I know that's kind of how you come up with the value for the properties within that neighborhood, how did you handle, or how do you handle clearly a distressed sale that's way below?
Yeah.
Do you kind of say, oh, it's an outlier, or does it go into the calculation?
Well, if it's a sale based on what's happening in the market, we would use it. Okay. So it's you brought up distressed sale. If it's a sale that's more forced, like a sheriff's sale where somebody's foreclosed upon and the sheriff has to sell it at the steps of the courthouse, the law is pretty clear that that is not something we're supposed to use to set market value. We're supposed to set willing buyer, willing seller, both knowledgeable of the good and bad points about the property, and neither under any compulsion to either have to buy or sell. We're just agreeing on a price. You and I are just negotiating and agreeing upon a price. That's the goal. So in 2008, when we were analyzing that, what you saw was there were a lot of foreclosures in there, but it was also impacting the market as a whole. Yeah. Everything went down. That's really what we're trying to measure. So even though we didn't use those explicitly, they had an impact on the entire market and brought it down. And then the next time we reassessed, which was in 2009, we saw property values drop across the board. There were very few people that went up. Most people went down because we just measured what had happened in the market.
So to finish up, every 3 years you reassess?
Yes. So every 3 years, we just, as many are aware, we just got done with our reappraisal last summer in 2024 with historic increases. I mean, we had, but as everyone knows, in fairness, I think you could search that anywhere and find that that's happened pretty much across the country. We did that in 2024. Our next update scheduled for 2027. So basically right now, if you change nothing to your property, no permits, we don't change anything to the record, everything's right, your value is going to hold in 25 and 26 the same as 24. We're not going to change it. So we'll ride there, and then we'll see what happens in 2027. I don't know. I don't know. So
as a real estate agent, I hope it keeps doing this.
I get it. I get it. So
well, Jason, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And if there are any questions after this that people have, please contact us, the Mucci team. contact the auditor's office.
Yes.
We will attach information on how to get both of us.
Yes.
And we're going to try to continue to do this. As things change in the county, we would love to sit down and kind of bring that to everybody. And we promise to keep all of you abreast on the changes. And Jason said he would comply to help us.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it'll probably help you as well and everyone
Absolutely.
here. So
Yes.
we'll get out the word for you. So
Thank you.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your time.
I
So,
appreciate you. Thank you.